Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Syntell, and welcome to Jaby KOAY's channel. And today, I get the unique opportunity to get a chance to review a film that I love, Special 26. And it's special not just because I get a chance to talk about it on Jaby's channel on my own solo. Big shout outs. All right, let me get back on point. It's not special just because of that. It's special for two reasons. The first one being that it's a heist movie. And I love heist movies. If you know me, you know why. It's a laundry list of great ones. Everything from Inception to The Italian Job to Ronin to Ocean's 11 to The Fast and Furious. It goes on and on and on. But this particular heist movie is a lot different than the other ones. And I'm gonna tell you why. I know what you're thinking. You're like, all right, so what is it that makes this movie so particularly special for you, Syntell? And it's quite simple. Unlike the other heist movies that I mentioned before, like Inception, Fast and the Furious, Ronin, and all these other ones that have like this crazy level of involvement, what makes this one different is that this one is based on a true story. For real, like the exploits and the craziness that you're going to see when you watch this movie happened in real life. So let me go right straight to IMDb and I'll give you like a quick synopsis of what we're dealing with here. So this is the storyline. So it's based on real life incidents that occurred in India in 1987 to 1988. The storyline revolves around a group of con artists who pulled off many clever robberies during the 1980s and robbed famous businessmen and politicians by pretending to be the income tax officers and conducting raids. On the pretext of conducting these raids, that they would take away all this horrible black money hoarded by them, kind of like, I guess, redistribute it to themselves. So you gotta get the gist, right? The overall scope is these people go to politicians and other like really wealthy people who do horrible things with their money, be it hoarding it or not paying their taxes or whatever it is, and they steal from them. It's a little bit of like a Robin Hood kind of thing going on, except for they're not really giving back to the poor, they're just giving to themselves. It stars two of my favorite actors, one being Manoj Bajpayee, who is absolutely amazing in this series called The Family Man that comes on Amazon. And I love him because he's like one of those everyman kind of characters. He can be funny, he can be dramatic, guess he could be a sex symbol. I mean, that's not really my cup of tea, but I'm sure there's some lovely ladies out in the world who find him attractive in that way. But he is like a jack of all trades when it comes to like his acting. And he plays one of the leaders of the CBI, which is like the Central Bureau of Investigation. And he's kind of like the bad guy that's trying to catch the good guys per se, which is funny because he's trying to, you know, be a lawful lawmaker and he's still kind of like put in the light of being like a semi-bad guy. Well, anyways, that's kind of like a whole other thing. And then of course, on the other side, our protagonist is starred by Akshay Kumar, who film that I absolutely adored that he was in was OMG, oh my God, where he plays God. He's kind of like Brad Pitt of this Bollywood space, or the George Clooney in like Ocean's 11. He's like really attractive, really charismatic. He's the leader. He's like really confident, and you can just see it in his face. He like wears it. He's got this strong jawline. he fits it perfectly. He also plays a really good God in OMG. Akshay's character in this particular one is named Ajay. Now, Ajay, just like in most heist movies, has like his crew, his people that he runs heists with, and it's three other individuals. One of them is this older guy who looks like he's been in the game for a really long time. I don't know if you've seen Ocean's 11, but in Ocean's 11, there's this one guy who kind of plays older man, and he's the guy that's able to transform and turn into all these different characters. He can fit any kind of description in order to kind of like sneak in and set up the heist. That's kind of like what this guy does. They're very similar characters. So you got him, and then you got his two other guys who are kind of like the facilitators, the people that go out and like do all the heavy work. And what's interesting to me about those two other guys is that they don't really say a whole lot, which is great because even in like great heist movies like Ocean's 11, there's a couple of folks that don't really have a whole lot of lines, but they're still pivotal in help getting the game moving, getting the heist moving forward. The film starts off with you getting a chance to see a heist kind of like come together. You have the guy that I was telling you about before, Kher, who plays Sharmaji. He's the guy that's like a second-hand man to Ajay. And Shamar is playing like one of these CBI agents, and he's meeting up with one of these officers before the heist gets started, hands him the appropriate papers, and then they go to the house. So that they can accuse these people of not paying their taxes, and they pull on like a full-blown raid. And it's funny too, because you can kind of like see the look on the people's faces. It's like the audacity of these people coming in here and like accusing me of theft and then just running in here and tearing up all of my stuff. There's a moment where like one of the guys assistants comes up and he's like, "You don't need to be here, you don't understand whose house you're in here, how dare you just come in here." And the guy, Sean Margie, the second-hand man, slaps like the brakes off of him, slaps him to the ground, and he's like, "Yo, I'm the law and you're gonna respect me." That had me rolling. Well, anyways, they go back into the house and start rummaging through all this stuff, and they're like checking out everybody's stuff where all of the cash is hidden. They're checking closets, they're looking under mattresses, they're knocking out holes in the ceiling, and they're seeing all the money that has been stashed that should have either gone to taxes or paid some of the people within the city because they're hoarding it. It's implied that these people are very bad individuals. They're kind of like getting their just dues. So they clear out all these houses, take off, and by the time they know what's up and they talk to the police, they find out that the CBI didn't send these people. They're imposters. Let's just get down to the nitty gritty and just talk about the film in general, what I love, what I hated, and things that I found interesting. Now, the overall arching storyline is about like theft and deception, and there's a lot of references to this theft and deception. A lot of it is deceiving us, the fans of these particular shows. The biggest one to me is just this whole Robin Hood mentality of robbing from the rich to satisfy the poor. I know that this is based on a true story, and the true story is somebody robbed somebody, deceived them by saying that they were working for the Central Bureau of Investigation, took their money and got away. Like here's the thing that's really funny too, because the guy that did it in real life got away in real life. And now, even though heist movies are fun and funny, like it's still a crime. This person walked up in somewhere and stole, like, I want to say it was like roughly like around like $500,000 worth of goods and got away from it. So, you know, we could take a lighthearted approach, which is what this is about, because it is a comedy more so than it is like the actiony kind of heist movies like Heat, and actiony, overly dramatic like heist movies like Dog Day Afternoon. This is more of like an Ocean's 11 kind of thing going on. So it's okay that part can be kind of forgiving. It still kind of like rubs it in your face a little bit, because the main guy, who's played by Akshay Kumar, the main guy's name is Ajay. He's like courting this woman that lives across the street from him. They meet subtly, you know, the whole boy meets girl thing, and they exchange looks and stuff. But he sits on his balcony and he like stares at her. And all of that is harmless and all, but where the theft and the deception kind of comes in is that this woman is like betrothed. She's supposed to like marry somebody else. It's a pretty serious thing to kind of like take somebody's wife. But like I said, I will suspend my disbelief because this is a comedy. The relationship between him and her isn't really comedic. It's pretty lovey-dovey. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, dang, this dude is super gangster. This dude is stealing the draws, stealing the money. This dude's a crook, but we love him. And you see the strong jawline and you're like, that's all right. You know, he's handsome. He can steal anything he wants, and he does. That's a little weird. I guess I had a small issue with her as well, the love interest, because in a lot of other heist movies, anytime like you see like the female love interest or the woman that you don't really know a whole lot about, that's when you realize like, haha, she was the maid and she was one that unlocked the door that allowed everybody to come in at the heist to happen. You know, it's one of them kind of things. Like there's like the aha moment. There was no aha moment with her. I mean, there's an aha moment in the fact that she's beautiful. Like, aha, like, damn, you fine. And I totally get why, you know, you're in there. It gives you like a reprieve from whole heist thing, so you could just look at her pretty face. But they didn't really like use her. She just a pretty face. It was kind of like the same thing with Manoj Bajpayee's character, who plays the CBI investigator, who's kind of like the bad guy. His wife has like a really brief appearance, but just another beautiful face, and then, you know, she kind of disappears. But I think the strength of the film is in the relationship between the CBI investigator, who is Wasim, played by Manoj Bajpayee, and how he interacts with his crew, because he kind of like whips them into shape, right? He's kind of like the general, and he's like, these bad people are going to get caught and I'm going to be the one to do it, and they're not smarter than me. If you've seen another absolutely brilliant and amazing heist movie, The Usual Suspect, there is this guy who is the head of the police department who's trying to find Kaiser Soze. He's so proud of himself. In that particular movie, he looks at Verbal Kent, who ends up being the bad guy, ends up being Kaiser Soze, and he's like, you can't get away from me because I'm smarter than you and you're stupid. I will catch you. He has that exact same moment in Special 26. Wasim, the guy that's the head of the CBI, he's like, yo, these are just crooks. They think that they're so smart and I'm going to catch them. Just like in The Usual Suspects, when the truth is revealed, this absolutely classic and iconic scene where he's drinking the coffee and he's looking at the board that breaks down how these heists and how Kaiser Soze ends up being Verbal Kent, the main guy, and he drops his coffee and he's like, he has that aha moment, like, yo, I've been duped. They got away with it. And there is that exact same moment in this particular film as well, where he realizes that there was like a sleeper agent within his own group that was like working for Ajay, and he just starts breaking out just laughing because he tells everybody, he's like, oh, I'm like the smartest dude in the room and these crooks are going to get like their just due. And he just starts laughing, and it's just like he admits and he realizes that he has just been outwitted. And then of course there's the relationship with Ajay and his crew. The old guy that's kind of like the face of jack of all trades, or the face of the hustle, who can play all these different characters, is interesting because the guy is older, right? So there's like maybe a hint of a bit of a father figure-ish kind of thing, maybe just like a small hint of it, but it's definitely like a respect thing kind of going on. And Ajay ends up giving him like probably one of the most pivotal tasks in the whole heist, that is to kind of come across as a snitch. His relationship with his whole crew in general is very family-like. Like, it's family to the point that you get a chance to see Ajay go to a wedding. You know, everybody's there and they're coming together, you know, breaking bread, everybody's getting all this money, you know, my daughter's getting married, you know, we are the family. And there's even another moment when he's talking to another one of his crew members and he finds out that his his crew member is like whipped by his wife. And there's nothing wrong with being whipped by your wife, you know, it's your wife. That's just what's gonna happen. But he doesn't want to lose face in front of the fellas, and they have that moment. He's like, well, you kind of gotta like keep it quiet. So there's that sense of family. Like, if you're a fan of Fast and the Furious, and Vin Diesel's always talking about you gotta do it for the family, this is one of those moments. Everything is about the family. I love how it hits like a lot of the typical Hollywood heist tropes. You know, we got to do the one last job and it's got to be big. And I love how it takes its time with the intricacies of trying to figure out how they're going to do this heist without revealing too much to us, the fans. And in this particular one, they have this grand scheme of putting an ad out in the paper to look for people who want to become a part of the CBI. It makes it look like it's very real and legit. And here's the thing that makes this movie brilliant. Like I said earlier, it's based loosely on what really happened in the 80s. And in the 80s, in this real heist, this man pretended to be CBI. He ran an ad in the paper for like 26 people to come in and audition, try to be recruited to be a part of the CBI. And in order to test their metal, to test their steel, they were going to run a fake raid on a building, a fake raid, see how like they held up. That like really happened, and this dude really got away. Yeah, I'm still like scratching my head like, yo, that is dope. Can I hire some people to rob a bank for me? Kidding, obviously, or maybe not. But anyways, it worked. In the Hollywood version, or the Bollywood version of that real life tale, they got to make things a little bit more grand. They add a lot of extra stuff, which is fine because it's all entertainment. And they made it like 50 some odd people. They did it in a way that was thoughtful and interesting. So I did really love that. I guess my bad takeaway, and this is a funny, like tongue-in-cheek, more of a takeaway kind of thing, is just the whole Robin Hood thing. Because like in real life, this person is a bad person. Theft is not to be taken lightly. But this movie does take it lightly. If you go on IMDb, and check out the review score, it got like an 8.0, which on IMDb is pretty tough to get anything past like a 7. It's typically like really, really good. And this got an 8. That should tell you enough that it's worth your time to go check it out. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix available, you'll have a good time. It's one of those things that you can watch with your girl or your lady, your wife, or whatever it is. Just kind of like get away and have an Ocean's 11 kind of moment. The two people that carry the film, Manoj Bajpayee and Akshay Kumar, they are just heavyweights and they don't disappoint. Your lady's gonna get a chance to see her little handsome dude, and you're gonna get a chance to see a dude be a badass and just enjoy the space that Manoj Bajpayee presents to you as an actor. Thanks for hanging out. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'd like to thank Jaby KOAY so much for giving me this space. And as you can see, I'm a lot more woolly because it's cold as hell out here. I live in Colorado and it is like 5 inches of snow outside. So welcome to change, my Wolfman face. I will be back clean shaven once the weather comes up. But more importantly, thank you so much for checking out. Hopefully to be more of these types of reviews. Yeah, I guess that's it. Peace out.